Let's do it, my friend.
Yeah.
Tuesday, the 22nd of October 2013. My name is Paul.
My name's Andy.
And we are live around the world on the Rake Radio, Block Talk, and being piggybacked onto the Shazziz Radio Network.
Very good.
Live from North Yorkshire. Here we go then. Every single Tuesday night we get to share our thoughts. They're not always the nicest of thoughts, are they?
They're not.
We're not always pleasant and kind.
No.
But we do try and keep within the boundaries of not offending.
Yes.
That is the idea. If we offend you, we didn't mean to.
No.
But we're not going to apologise.
No,
now, you've got to toughen up a little bit. This shell suit that you're wearing in the 80s is a bit thin now. Okay? If you think we've offended you, we didn't actually intend it to be. Now, you have to ask yourself, why did you feel offended? Okay? Why did you feel offended when we weren't trying to do that?
No.
So, our show. It is Tuesday. Every couple of hours every week. We do it because it's better than actually doing nothing.
It is, that's it.
And it is disappointing to report that in all the time we've been doing this, our numbers are pretty static.
Yeah.
Now, I actually see the internet as a springboard to other things. And if we look back at technology, even though we didn't call it technology, let's go back to the early days of what we call modern education. And the church had no problem volunteering its services, its land, and building the schools, did it?
No.
And we weren't very keen, were we? We were not keen to send our kids to school because we didn't trust them. Plus, the kids were workers then.
The kids were bringing in income.
They were workers, so they were part of the family economy. And the main reason was that we didn't want to lose that income.
No.
And we didn't trust the church in the way that people think we all went to church and believed everything that they said. That isn't actually true.
No.
It took them till 1870 to actually get the country into a position of, okay, this education, like, I guess we're going to have to at least teach our kids to read and write, because it'll disadvantage them in what is the brave new world that's been built.
Yeah.
So we did actually succumb to send the kids to school. Not without a fight, by the way.
No.
It wasn't a done deal. And the kiddie catchers in the kids' films did exist. And they did go around, they did drag you off, and it hasn't changed a great deal, has it, today? We had kiddie catchers in my day. Do we have them in yours?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then technology moved along and gave us the radio, didn't it? It gave us the radio, and we liked the radio. We actually liked it, didn't we? Yep. And that was the source of today's modern advertisers. Yeah. You know, it was the soaps, wasn't it? It was the soaps and the breakfast cereals, which is why we call them soaps and cereals. Yep. Because that was the originated from they realised that during the day the majority of people listening to the radio was mums, and this developed today's modern advertising culture. And if you haven't read Propaganda by Bernays, first of all, I'll tell you, it's not a very exciting book. All right, it's one of those, like, after all the time and the amount of people that I've heard saying, I must read this book. It's
was that written in the 30s?
Late 20s.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a letdown, actually, because what he says in that book is mostly what you already know about today's modern advertising culture. But you have to put it into context. This is 84 years ago.
Yeah.
You know, this guy had the vision to see the power of advertising and the power of suggestion and how you could supplant people's wishes and desires for them by showing them other people who were benefiting from doing this very action.
Yeah.
Whether it be true or false, it didn't matter.
No.
You know, the silk industry, the smoking industry, you can find on YouTube, actually, you can find Bernays a speech in the 50s. And he's very proud of himself with the bacon and the eggs and the smoking and the silk and the tweed and the fashions. He writes the book in 1929, I think it is, as if he's the first one that's ever thought of it. It's not strictly true. And people argue about the word propaganda and how its meaning has been changed over the years. Argue what they like. Propaganda is something that you're told that you either react positively or negatively to. Whether it's true or not, that isn't the argument here.
No.
So, we actually got to go to school in this country. We got our children to school in 1870. We didn't see the radio as a threat, did we? Not in the way that we...
Definitely not.
We were nervous about schools, and we knew schools would take away some control over our children, because at that moment in time, the kids were learning something that not all the parents knew. So it caused quite a...
Yeah.
You know, the kids could read and write, or were learning to read and write, whereas the parents, they didn't all have that ability at the time.
And it was a tool to project things to people in through NLP while they were working, because they were working in the factories, preparing
the
for...
radio.
Yeah, they were preparing for the wars.
The radio and the music, wasn't it? It was the music that they wanted that we played.
Yes.
There was no words to music at one point. Not the classics. There
They
was no
played a
words
lot of classical music.
That's right. And
yeah.
there was no words. It was the words came in time. You know, we were singing words. Well, we know the old music hall stuff, don't we? They had the classics, we had the music halls. Nothing's changed, really, has it?
Really?
You know, so it was still. It was all about dancing. They were dancing the waltz, and we were dancing the can, as it were.
Yeah, they go to the opera, we watch X Factor.
Something like that. Yeah. In fact, we actually have a saying in this language, don't we? To whose tune are we dancing? And that comes from the dancing bears. You know, if you ever see bears in the advertisers, the dancing bears. This is from something that was done a long time ago, and it's almost like a Pavlovian type training regime. And that is that it was either 2 or 3 bears. The stories do actually change a little bit. And these bears, they were put into an environment where the floor they were stood on was heated up. And they had to actually, they couldn't stand on all 4 paws at once. So the bears were learning that if you stand on 2 and then change it in the other 2, and the floor was getting hotter. But all the time, a tune was being played to these dancing bears. Because it looked like they were dancing.
Yeah.
And then they had to change, and this, and then change, you know. And over time, the same tune was played time and time again to these bears, who looked like they were dancing. And because it was ingrained into them, eventually the floor didn't have to be heated to get the bears to dance.
Yeah, put the tune on and they knew the tune.
And they knew the tune, so they just automatically danced without checking the floor was hot.
Yeah.
And so it is with children. That's how these things are done, you know. You teach kids to respond to a bell, a whistle, a command. And you'll teach them that there's consequences if they don't. And whether the consequences be meted out or not, the kids will respond to that command.
We're too spooky, you know. Just as we were going on air, I wrote down ringing the bells. And you can see I've written it there, haven't I?
Yeah, you have, yeah. and I can't see it. Even if that was 8 inches closer, I still couldn't bloody read it. I'm actually at the point now where's the big print on computers?
And they got us responding to whistles and bells, and that's... they have.
Well,
exactly that.
Most games are whistles or bells, aren't they? The boxing is the bells, and team games are the whistle. So it's, you know, it's the Casey Jones steaming and rolling on the land, and it's the bells and the bell tolls on the sea. You know, this is a sea, sun, moon type game. It always is, the sea and the sun being. Right, radio. See, I got lost at radio.
No, but it fits in with the ringing the bells, because that's how they got the factory workers to... it was an encouragement to go to work. It was like ringing the bell.
Do you know?
They enjoyed going to work to listen to the radio.
Because we didn't have alarm clocks, we had to have people to wake us up.
Yes, they went round knocking on the windows.
Knocker-ups.
Knocker-uppers,
and do you know what they have to have? They had to have a knocker-up for
knocker-up.
Someone had to knock up the knocker-up. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you read a little bit of history, it's so funny. But they had to knock us up because we just didn't wake up. We didn't have alarm clocks.
No.
Who knocked up the knocker-up? Well, the knocker-upper knocked up the knocker-upper.
He had a cockerel.
But the radio.
Yes.
Make no mistake, the word ray is in there on purpose. Anything that you see with the word ray is some sort of projection.
Yes.
It is projecting in some way, shape or form. It's some sort of projection, okay?
Yeah.
And DO is a diameter, a radii, it's a distance. So radio, whatever. People think this language is so simple. I wish people would learn it. Now, the radio. Okay, that taught the advertisers of the day how to develop the soap and cereal sales. But in the late 50s, when we knew television was available, because I think the BBC started broadcasting in, I forget early 50s, 49, 50, 51. We can tell we don't research this stuff because we just sort of halfway know it, and that's near enough.
Yeah, some smart aleck.
Do you know? Here's a funny fact. I believe at the start of World War II, the BBC Radio News Service were playing Mickey Mouse. And do you know, at the end, when war was declared to end, they replayed the very same edition of the Mickey Mouse Club. They did. And do you know,
that's so sick, innit?
Well, to me, it's like... I mean, we both know that this system is laughing its socks off us.
It is having a right old laugh at us all.
It's entertaining itself no end at all.
Yeah.
Because the internet is like Disneyland. And here we are, and I'm looking at this thing here. And this is Disneyland controlled by a bloody mouse. By a bloody mouse. And this, I think this is called the trap. The net, the trap.
In the Italian, isn't it?
Is it Italian or Spanish? One of those Latino countries.
It translates as trap.
And we still, I mean, even though the naysayers in the 50s and the 60s, TV, it'll brainwash children. it'll indoctrinate us all. You know, keep away from it. It's the devil incarnate.
They weren't far wrong.
Well, those that are old enough to look back on TV can say, well, it certainly was a cultural changer. It was an absolute game changer for the controllers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They had never had this much influence over the public at large. I mean, you can tell that it's not going to be good for us because the government actually set up a whole string of shops and allowed us to rent tellies, didn't they?
Yeah.
Where you had to have a telly.
Radio rentals and...
But this was the first time that credit was given en masse
to
the public. You was having a telly whether you wanted it or not. DER.
Yeah.
Duh. Is that the noise it goes off? Duh. And they used to bloody terrify you at the end, didn't they? Ladies and gentlemen, please, have a good night. Pull the plug out of the wall, make sure all the windows and doors are locked and the lights are off, and you thought, why, who's coming? So, now we know, history has recorded, that the TV did exactly what those naysayers said it was going to do. But we love the internet. Apparently that's different. I think one guest said it was a gift from God. A God-given gift to save us.
I just want to make a connection with the radio and the TV now. The radio was also invented by Marconi, wasn't it? Brought in for the Second World War. And it's amazing. That's how they contacted the resistance, wasn't it?
This is a good point you're going to make. We spoke earlier, didn't we?
We did, yeah. And that's why it was a tool for the resistance. They broadcast at a certain time. You had to tune in and you listened to your instructions when they were going to land and we're going to do a drop and all this kind of thing. And now it's the absolute reverse, isn't it, with the internet?
Yes.
Now it's the thermometer up the backside looking at what the resistance is doing. And instead of us working in secret and not telling them a thing, we can't help but blab, can we?
We can't keep our mouth shut. We cannot. Remember, I mean, they started off, they snuck into our houses with the email. All right, because in today's modern world, it's still pretty tricky to open a handwritten letter, isn't it? It's pretty tricky to get inside a handwritten letter.
It certainly is.
So first of all, let's invent a way that they can send mail for free that we can read.
Anybody can read it.
All read it.
And it's secure. It's secure, you know.
It's secure. We won't tell anyone.
No.
We won't tell anyone. Don't you worry. You just. I mean, honestly, if we are not bothered about privacy, why do we bother with passwords?
No.
Why bother with bloody passwords?
Yeah.
Because they're just a farce. In fact, passwords are probably the reason why a lot of people don't get on with the internet. Because this is how stupid we are. Don't use the same password more than once. Make sure that it contains a number of letters and numbers in an abstract sequence that nobody could easily remember. And then here's the killer. And don't write it down. It's brilliant, isn't it? And don't write it down. We're just stupid.
And don't use something simple like your birthday. And everybody does.
Or your dog's name. And don't use your mother's maiden name. Because everybody knows that. We're just nuts, aren't we? We are silly people. If we just admitted how silly we are, hard work never killed anybody.
No.
Millions.
It's killed
millions around the world have died.
Salt mines comes to mind.
What's that new one that I've heard? Absence makes you forget them.
Pardon? Who are we on about again?
How do you get men from boys in the Navy? With a crowbar. I don't know. Television we were on. Right.
Yeah.
The internet is sucking us all in.
Yeah.
This is the sucker that's going to sink us all. This is the octopus, the tentacle, the whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
The dream is working. The dream is working. The fishers of men.
Yeah.
They've done it. They have done it. And I wish I could tell you that we laugh and joke and giggle because we know it's going to be okay in the end. But we're not the land of Walt Disney.
We're not so sure this time.
Remember, the Bible, the good guy doesn't win.
No.
The good guy loses.
He does.
Only in the wonderful world of Disney does the good guy win.
Yeah. Well, the Willis Bawabas, don't they? In the film. Willis Bawabas.
Yeah.
You do.
The Judas. Judas. I can't remember. There's a story I've got about him. There's something to do with silver, though. Something to do with the silver, yeah. Anyway. For the illuminated crowd, and that can be anybody.
It can be.
It can
be anybody.
Anybody. Talking about the very illumination that we should be looking for. We don't get
the myth of overpopulation originated in England in 1798, when a vicar named Thomas Malthus, who fancied himself something of a mathematician, saw that food production increased incrementally, but people reproduced exponentially. He sat down and did some simple math, and summarily decided that the world would be out of food by 1890. He blamed reduced mortality rates, and recommended killing off the have-nots of society, lest the haves starve to death. This cry was taken up by Paul Ehrlich of Stanford University in 1968, who claimed that reckless human reproduction had overwhelmed the Earth. Massive famines would result, which would destroy, best-case scenario, 1/5 of humanity by the end of the 70s. And the planet would follow. This fear produced large donations for the newly created UNFPA, which thrives on an imagined crisis that has been both imminent and rescheduled again and again over the past 2 centuries. The truth of the matter is that every family on this planet could have a house with a yard and all live together on a landmass the size of Texas, which is really just a small corner of the planet. The population of Earth will peak in 30 years and then start to go back down. We're not overpopulated. Do the math.
All these little clips that we use are either on my Facebook page or on below the video that you now see. Okay, thank you for that. Right, this is Tuesday, the 22nd of October 2013, live on Awake, Answers and Blog Talk around the world.
Amazing.
Got some good upcoming guests coming as well before Christmas. I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. My Facebook, your Facebook, below this YouTube video. Not all the clips, I'm doing the editing, so it'll be rough and ready like it always was when I do the editing. Not all the musical clips, we're not allowed to leave them all in.
No.
So we have to take some of the musical clips out. The whole show, including everything, is on the Blog Talk link below the YouTube video. Otherwise, just enjoy the YouTube video. It is the edit. It's a little bit shorter, and everything that we want to say is included. Yeah. So welcome back, and thank you for listening around the world, however you are doing so. Right, blinded by the light. How many examples can we find of light, enlightenment, empowerment? You know, we can find many of them, can't we? And I played the overpopulation thing, and I think we don't hear the overpopulation thing correctly. Because we actually say that it's not overpopulated. Everyone can have a house and a garden and live in the state of Texas. I used to say that. But I understand a little bit differently now. Because this world is run as a business by businessmen.
It is.
And these businessmen, they understand quite clearly. We don't often say to ourselves, all right, this big globe, world thing. Who put the lines on? Who coloured the country's different colours? Who figured out the language? Who printed the money for them? Who wrote the book they're all following and believe is the right one and everybody else has got the wrong one? Mm-hmm. Who gave them the flag and who made sure that they always made enemies of the next door neighbours? Who worked all that out before we got here? If we actually dismiss that as something that isn't relative to the conversation, we've got a long way to go, because it is what the conversation's all about.
Yep.
If you see each country as a business, okay, it's a business. It doesn't care about the people.
No.
The people are not part of the business in the way you think it is. The people are the collateral that can be loaned against.
Yes.
All right? Now, you spell the word alone, A-L-O-N-E. They don't. They spell it as A space L-O-A-N.
Yeah.
All right? So you are alone. All right? Now, this system prides itself on being so damn clever. Because every word you hear yourself say and others say, it's got more than one decode. It sounds the same, but it's applied slightly differently. That's how it's done. I can't write a book and tell you how every word works, but I can tell you how many do, and I do try and tell you in the process of every show. This is a skill that you need to learn for yourselves. Every word is made up of a number of words that already exist. The language is built from building blocks, a bit like when you're doing your ABCs when you're a kid. You know, like each letter has got its own brick, and you can make any language and any word you want. Well, over a process of time, that's what's been done to our language. This one we speak today is identical to every language that's ever existed, but it's just the best one that they need to use at this time. English is the language of business, the universal commercial code. This was created so countries around the world, regardless of their native tongue, had to conform to the universal commercial code.
Yep.
The commercial code applies to the coastline, business done on the coast.
Yep.
All right. Now, the word coast has got a lot of applications. All right, and also a lot of different spells. We've got why do we put our cups on coasters? Why do we put our furniture on coasters?
Coasters, yeah.
Because that's what they're called, isn't it? Okay, why do we call the coast to coast? Why have we got Costa Coffee? What's Royal Ascot if it isn't just a spell of coast? And what's coats? Well, coats is what you find on sheep, but it's a spell of coast. And you don't think these things all connect up together. And that's because you don't think these things all connect up together. But they jolly well do.
Yep.
They jolly well do, I'll tell you. Now, the overpopulation thing. Once a country has been maxed, in other words, it's drawn on every credit card and every line of credit it can find. And that is often reached at the point where the country has mortgaged its population or indebted its population up to the GDP.
Yeah.
Right? Once a country has maxed itself to its GDP, I suspect we're way over that really, but the statistical numbers that everybody believes are true, which of course they cannot be, the statistical numbers, once a country's maxed its GDP to debt, then it starts getting the lending markets nervous.
Yeah.
And that's where the interest rates start to change. Okay, so if you want to know when the interest rates are going up, you don't have to wait. You can work it out for yourself. The GDP in this country is approaching, it's about 1.3 trillion. And the debt is approaching about 1.3 trillion. So if you want to know when interest rates are going to rise, just keep looking at that number. All right, because that's the number that's going to indicate the interest rates. That's when things are going to start to get a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
Why do we know all this stuff? Why do we put ourselves out to do different things and learn? Because it's valuable to us, isn't it? Is this what keeps our sanity? Is this what allows us to be cool and calm while everybody else is running around like chickenless heads?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if we don't actually make sense of this, it does actually take you down, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, I went on Facebook, and I call Facebook, I call it Fight Book.
Yeah.
And I often put one little comment here and one little comment there, just to see what happens. And every time I do it, I get a snapback. I always get a snapback, because typing isn't talking, and nobody can tell how you've said what it is that you want to say, because you haven't said it, you've typed it.
You've typed it, yeah.
So for people who can't face books, Facebook is, I think it's a very dangerous place to be, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Because Facebook generates the following world. And that is that, especially in the alternative news arena, news from around the world that you don't know is true.
You don't.
From people who you don't know if they exist. In a world called virtual reality. Now, this second dimension that's been created for us, the first dimension is the one that you can really see, taste, touch, smell and hear. This is reality.
Yeah.
The second dimension is virtual reality. And we've started maintaining our lives and devoting far too much of our time doing things that don't matter on the internet. It's a gaming centre, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the amusement arcade.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Seaside Amusement Arcade on steroids. You can play anything you want on here. And although they tell us that we're going to put some controls on pornography so youngsters can't get to it. I'll eat hay with the donkeys when they do that. I will eat hay with the donkeys when they do that. Now, the overpopulation thing, let's get back to it. Because the worlds are run as business. And the governments are just the administrators. Okay? The board of directors.
Yeah.
All right? But the cabinet. Okay? Cabinet. Ship of state.
Yes.
Okay, they get to crew it. All right. Now they're not the navigators. The navigators are different.
They are.
All right. The navigators are different. You don't see the navigators. You see the crew manning the ship of state, running it from the cabinet. But the navigators, the square and compass.
Yeah.
Yeah. The maritime admiralty product, the map.
Yeah.
This is the map, and that's where the ship's going. So, it's a business. And this business is interested in profit. Okay? Now, not money in what you're thinking. They're interested in controlling the role, continuing the role. Because they see the light that we talk about as the sun in the sky. Okay? And that sun rolls forward every day.
Yep.
And they want to control or continue the roll. Control. They want to keep the ball rolling, keep the ship moving, keep the ship sailing. Right? And their job is to take everything they can away from you. Because we have no interest in history, and because we think now is what's important and everything else is what's gone, we don't realise that they have been at war with us forever. This is a war that's been fought forever. Okay, us against them against us. They had to build castles, otherwise we'd have chopped the heads off a long time ago. Yep. They had to develop forces. The more they stole, the more force they needed to keep us away from it.
Yep.
All right, the more they steal, the bigger the forces get. Have we not noticed this yet? Well, we should do. We should be learning by now. The bigger the steal, the bigger the force. Look at what's been created where we live. You know, the real police force, the ones that perhaps did see what, they were there to protect and serve us. Yep. That's been turned, you see, the protect and serve is to protect and serve the system now. Yeah. They don't take any oath to look after us. They don't. No. These are these hobby bobbies. Eventually we'll see that they're just revenue raisers. Yeah. And here's the ironic part. We'll not only pay their wages, but we'll have to pay their fines as well.
And their expenses.
We pay both ends, don't we?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, again, MPs' expenses are back in the news, and we try and keep away from the news in the way that we argue about it, because you've got one lifetime to spend. And if you spend it arguing about things that you can't change, and don't look inside yourself, don't look to yourself for answers that will actually make your life better. If you don't see your priority to the people you love, which is your wife, your children, and whoever else you choose to put to that list, if you don't see that your priority is them, okay, and shouting and bawling like a fishwife, shouting and bawling about the world's not fair and I'm not playing, okay, you just got to get out of the short trousers. You've got to start asking yourself, if your life's not going too well, there can be a few reasons, but they'll all be connected to you.
Yeah.
They'll all be connected to you. This is what we won't admit to ourselves. It's easier to fool than to convince people they're being fooled. This is what's changed between you and I, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
That I looked at Facebook, was it Sunday night, I think it was, and I felt really quite upset. Not for me. It wasn't an upset for me. It was what was on my Facebook wall. And I have taken a lot of the commenters that post fluffy pictures, animal pictures, never-ending selfies, where they've been, where they're going, who they've kissed, I've taken a lot of those contributors out. So what actually is shown on my wall is mainly the news hounds from around the world who provide me with the stories that they think are important at that time.
Yeah.
And to them, they are important. But I looked through my entire Facebook wall, well, not my entire wall, but a good 48 hours, 72 hours, which took a while. You know, looking through the posts from yesterday and the day before, it took a long time to scroll back. And there wasn't one article that I reposted. But there used to be. What's changed? Is it my news hounds or is it me?
Yeah.
Am I getting lazy? Am I getting lazy? It's possible, isn't it?
It is
possible. Remember, it's possible.
Going round again.
It's possible that you and I are just getting bloody lazy, isn't it? I know.
Yeah.
Or is it that we've learned arguing fixes nothing at all?
Now, my grandmother was a wonderful person. She taught me how to play the game Monopoly. She understood that the name of the game is to acquire. She would accumulate everything she could, and eventually she became the master of the board. And eventually, every time, she would take my last dollar, and I would quit in utter defeat. And then she would always say the same thing to me. She'd look at me and she'd say, "One day, you'll learn to play the game." One summer, I played Monopoly with a neighbor almost every day, all day long. We'd play Monopoly for hours. And that summer, I learned to play the game. I came to understand the only way to win is to make a total commitment to acquisition. I came to understand that money and possessions, that's the way that you keep score. And by the end of that summer, I was more ruthless than my grandmother. I was ready to bend the rules if I had to win that game. And I sat down with her to play that fall. I took everything she had. I destroyed her financially and psychologically. I watched her give her last dollar and quit in utter defeat. And then she had one more thing to teach me. Then she said, "Now it all goes back in the box." All those houses and hotels, all the railroads and utility companies, all that property and all that wonderful money. Now it all goes back in the box. I didn't want it to go back in the box. No, she said. None of it was really yours. You got all heated up about it for a while. But it was around a long time before you sat down at the board. And it will be here after you're gone. Players come and players go. But it all goes back in the box. Houses and cars, titles and clothes, filled barns, bulging portfolios, even your body. Because the fact is that everything I clutch and consume and hoard is going to go back in the box, and I'm going to lose it all. That's not much of an ROI on that. You have to ask yourself, when you finally get the ultimate promotion, when you've made the ultimate purchase, when you buy the ultimate home, when you have stored up financial security and climbed the ladder of success to the highest rung you can possibly climb it, and the thrill wears off, and it will wear off, then what? How far do you have to walk down that road before you see where it leads? Surely you understand, it'll never be enough. So you have to ask yourself the question, what matters?
Very important, isn't it?
Mm.
I do love that little bit.
Yeah.
Because we might understand what that means to us, but we might not yet have figured we're playing Monopoly.
Yeah.
We go past go, okay, and you get your wages.
Yeah.
And if you don't own houses and hotels and the water companies, if you don't own the railway stations, the electric companies, and if you can keep yourself out of jail, you can stay playing Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get round again. If you've got your share of the things that Monopoly offers. But if you don't own anything, you're going to go around that board every week and you're going to lose it all. You're going to give it all away. And then you're going to go round again. Because you don't own anything, you're going to give it all away. Because the world is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And they are in the business of taking everything.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely everything. Monopoly teaches that this is what they do for entertainment. They make films that tell us. They give us games that tell us. They play chess, we play drafts. It's all war.
Mm. It is.
Chess is a game of war. Drafts is what we are drafted to go to bloody war.
Yeah.
They entertain themselves fooling us.
Mm.
They do it in the music, in the media, in the movies, and in the games we play. Everything is provided for our entertainment, and it's laughing at us. It's laughing at us. We are signing our own death warrants through our own ignorance. They are done with this version. We are going through a major update. And if you don't like it, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to like it. You're not going to stop it. Because they have got us down to the level of 11 to 15-year-old children who laugh at schoolyard innuendo. That's what they have got us down to. Mm-hmm. We laugh at pranks and jokes that we should have left behind a long time ago. A long time ago. We argue about things we can't prove with people we don't know. In a world that isn't real. This is madness. If we carry on, our rooms will be padded. Our floors will be padded. We will have a department of sharp edge erasure. We will. We'll have seat belts on toilets. We will not be allowed to drive cars. You say the self-driving car... No, we're not going to be allowed to drive cars. Trust me. And guess what? We're not going to bother.
No.
We won't give a flying.
We'll be happy with the tools they've given us.
We've been put back into the womb.
Yeah.
Into the uterus. Okay, we've been remade. The Matrix is remaking mankind in their image. You may have heard these lines before. They are making us in their image. What they do is they experiment on us with everything. Okay, now, we're told that the good guy always wins in the end. All right, do the right thing, be upstanding, you'll get respect and praise for it, truth will win through. There is very little evidence of this outside Hollywood. Very little evidence. If you can't see that the power comes from the guns and the money, which creates the force which allows them to move forward, they actually look at us and say, if these people are stupid enough to follow every rule we make, then so be it. And if they lap up and make us millions of pounds believing that good will win through, well, bigger fools them. Because whether you like it or not, the reality seems to be the most money and the guns that creates the force wins.
Yeah.
Now, you might say, you're upsetting me now. You shouldn't be listening then, should you? Okay, you shouldn't be listening. Because if you can't face reality, then you'll live in pretend land. You'll live in Never Neverland. How long have you been living in Neverland? How long have you been saying, come on, we can do this. Come on, let's get together. Come on. We just have to You're right, but you're wrong. Who are you talking to? You're on your own. Who are you talking to? Like you said, the resistance in the Second World War was secret.
It was.
They never knew how many they had in opposition.
They didn't.
They never knew if it was friend or foe looking at them.
No.
Here, no problem at
No
all.
problem.
We can't keep our bloody mouth shut. We shout and bawl to the spy who doesn't love us. It reports back to headquarters and says, it's all right, still on this Tuesday. They've done now different.
No.
They've not thought of out new. Don't panic.
Exactly.
Don't panic. You know, the only thing that bothers us, if they come up with something that we hadn't thought of, we're going to have to move quickly. But luckily, no, they're not. There's no more listening. Very few people are interested. It's absolutely fine. Rest easy, everybody. Stand down. Port all round.
Yeah.
I wish we'd start talking properly. I wish we'd start talking properly about where we really are. Because we've got a whole stack of people who would have us believe that we're on the verge of victory.
Yeah.
We're on the very verge of victory. Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope they'll let me know where it is. I hope they'll let me know where to go, you know, so I can join in. It sounds like we're being negative. No, we're being realists.
We are.
We're being realists.
Yeah.
We've really got to look at this in the real light now. I'm hoping next week I have a guest for you. The lady's name will be Sonia Poulton. Sonia Poulton is going to be the lead news anchor on The People's Voice.
Yep.
Now then, I'm interested because I've had a little look at The People's Voice. I've had a look at what's online from Sonia Poulton.
Yes,
I've had a look at a little bit of the naysayers. And what I mean, it's almost embarrassing for the naysayers, you know. The People's Voice debunked. David Icke debunked. It's envy, isn't it?
Yes.
It's not jealousy. No, jealousy is too small a word. It's too kind a word. This is envy, isn't it? This is the problem with small minds, closed little minds. They don't come with small closed mouths, do they? Unfortunately, the opposite appears to be true. What I think about David Icke and Sonia Poulton does not matter. I don't really know them. But I know they're trying to put together a united alternative news service. And I'm okay with that. Because if we stand any chance of actually even being given some recognition by a wider audience and the general's public, then we're going to have to at least present something that's familiar to them.
Yeah.
We need to present a news service that's familiar. Now, I don't think the Mark McGowan shout at the world approach is for everybody.
No.
Mark has his own unique style.
He does.
I like him enormously, but the shouting and swearing, I think, is not going to be always popular with a wider audience.
No.
Now, whether you believe me or not, if the People's Voice is trying to present what would be a business package of a news service to the widest possible audience, then I believe that's probably all we can do.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else we could possibly do. If you think protesting's the answer, you find me 1 million people and I might say yes. You find me 1 million people and I might just say yes. The last time in my life, and the only time I think in my life that I can quote for sure, that the government pushed too far, too fast in one go, when was it? 1991, was it?
Yeah, I think
1990,
so.
1991?
Margaret Thatcher.
And it was the poll tax, wasn't
Yes.
it? Because the governments, remember they administer the rations. They administer the ration. This is not administer the nation.
No.
Right, this is the administer of the ration. Right, they give us rations. We're on rations. We are the rowers, the rowers. We're on bloody rations, whether you think we are or not, it's up to you, but we're on rations. And it was the poll tax. Now, governments pride themselves on getting us to ask for what it is they want us to do. In other words, they propagandise us in a way that we say, look, there is too many people having kids. I see them on Jeremy Kyle, and the red top newspapers show me families having 12, 14, 15 kids. Right, as if it's the norm.
Yeah.
As if they're on every street corner. But this is the idea with propaganda. You see it once, and you think, those people are stealing my children's future. Those people, right, they're getting something for nothing. Now you're getting closer to the truth, aren't you?
Yeah.
Now you're getting closer. They're getting something for nothing. Right? And again, in the shop that I own, it's just a little fish and chip shop. It's ironic when you go down to actually the decode of what fish and chips is, but never mind. Again, in my little shop, this happens more than once. Always. I can do this. So far, I've not 100% hit rate. And that is that if they're talking about MPs and expenses, or people getting too much money, you say, look, I know that it annoys you. I know it does. But let's take the MPs, for example. If, from a very early age, your early teens, you decided you wanted to be a politician, and you read and studied, went to the correct university, read and studied, made the correct connections, came out of university with the correct degrees, then you went to work for the charities, which is where they usually start. It usually starts in charitable work, you know. That's how they usually start to work through, and then they become campaigners for the party, and they slowly get involved at the grassroots level and have to work their way up. Some get fast-tracked, but more often than not, that's the way you've got to work through your local council level and get elevated that way. It's not easy. It's not. It takes a certain dedication to want to do that. And what I'm saying is that if I say to somebody over the counter, yeah, that's how hard they've had to work, and then they actually get to be an MP, and they get a salary of just short of 70,000, I think it is, and an expense account, depending on what position they hold, but an expense account in excess of 100,000, some 120,000 up to, sort of. Yeah. And they've got access to expenses and salaries like that, and connections, business connections that they need to cement, because they may well only be in a job for 4 years after all that studying.
Yeah.
And what would you do if you were them? 100% hit rate this. Yeah, I'd do the same. 5 minutes ago, they were arguing about MP's expenses.
Yeah.
This is hypothetically criticising, isn't it?
Yes.
In other words, because it's not me, I'll pretend to criticise. Let's put hypothetical and criticise together. What do we get?
Hypocrite.
You're bloody hypocrites, aren't they? Those Premiership footballers, 150,000 a week. But would you swap places with them? Too right I would. Too bloody right I would.
Yeah, that's the answer you get, isn't it?
The overpopulation myth, I'm back to it, because that's where I dropped off, as usual. Yeah. I forget where I'm going and have to go back and pick it up again. There is too many people on the planet, but not for the space that exists. Here's the key that we need to really look at and say, yeah, I don't know how we're going to get out this one. Technology is waiting to replace us.
It is.
In the simple service industry stuff, it's waiting to chuck us off the assembly line.
Yeah.
What we're going to do with all those people? Well, of course, they're going to become the socialists of the day. They're going to jump onto the internet, and they're going to be the actual engine that's going to be used to take us over to a full socialist system. And this is that in time to come, the money system is going to adapt to just a digital currency. Now, I don't know how they're going to get us cashless, but by jolly God, they're going to get us there. When we go cashless, that's it, game over. Game over.
We're done.
This is game over. When they have the absolute ability to track and trace and watch everything we're doing,
and
to
switch
control,
off.
Yes, to control every purchase and deny us the right if they see fit. That's game over.
Jeez.
That is game over. I will not be shouting at that point. I'll be saying, well, here we are, and at this point, I might as well retire.
Yeah.
Because there is nothing else I can do after that. I cannot persuade you to do anything to turn that around. I could ask you to put your initials on some washers, and we could trade in washers if you want. But I can't think of anything else that we could do if we do actually get shuffled to that point in my lifetime.
Yeah.
would they like to get us there in my lifetime? Well, they're doing their best to break the money system, aren't they?
Yeah.
But there's so many invested in it.
There is.
Everybody's invested in it. 90+% of the people are invested in it.
We could do what you've suggested on occasions before, is we'd have to all go out and buy a Monopoly set and use the Monopoly money to trade between ourselves.
Well, it has value, doesn't it? Because you have to buy a Monopoly.
What's it cost you? 20 quid for a Monopoly game, and you leverage it up to how many thousands that's in it?
Yeah, I was going to say, if we all just decided where the point goes, and we could trade.
We could trade on that.
We could trade, yeah.
As daft as it sounds,
it would suffice as good as anything else.
We could trade between ourselves that way, but they'd still have you buy your short and curlies on the other things.
You couldn't pay your main stuff.
No, you couldn't pay your water bill and your gas bill, your electric bill.
But you're right. Yeah. You're right. At this level, to some extent, we could, and probably will.
Yeah, and
we probably will actually, and it'll probably be acceptable to a point.
And when we're thinking about enslaved, that I was thinking about this to myself the other day. That's how I'm totally enslaved. They've got me. I've got to have their water. I've got to have their gas. I've got to have their electric. Will it come to a point where I've got to have their air that we breathe? Well, we're nearly there now.
New story.
Okay.
You're gonna die of cancer.
Yeah.
Okay. Cancer's now in the air. All right. I mean, the whole thing is scripted, right? And because we know cancer, and these are their statistics, 47% of the UK adult population will have suffered, or 47%. I forget that 47% of the UK population will have recovered or contracted cancer. 47% by 2020. They have to put into reality, okay, as many different possible cancer causes, okay, so we don't realise it's been done on purpose.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi, the microwaving.
Oh yeah, all
the
that.
Wi-Fi, the microwaving, the killer carbon dioxide. You believe that? I've got tickets to the moon. Looking silly, but killer carbon dioxide. Obviously, what else? What else is
fumes from your car?
Emissions.
Yeah.
Power stations. Nuclear leaks. What else do we have? There'll be radiation. Everything. Your foods are radiated, of course. Your foods are radiated. The oceans, the fish from Fukushima, that'll be irradiated.
Yeah.
They have to come up with as many ways as possible so they can cover the fact they might just be them. This might all be crisis creation from the Club of Rome.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, how much evidence do we have that any of this is bloody true? Well, I've seen it on the internet.
Yeah. We've read it in the news.
My trusted news source, Mike Adams from National News, told me.
Yeah.
I'm not actually saying Mike Adams is a bad guy.
No. My wife works in the NHS. She said the other day to me, "You're going to have to stop taking this cod liver oil. Apparently it's been linked to prostate cancer." I went, "Whatever. I'm not stopping taking the cod liver oil. I'm sorry. That's the only way that my bones will function. My muscles and joints will function with that.
Insurance is the way to go. Insurance is the way to go. I have realised there is not a policy available online to get you through this life alive.
Either that or gambling. I could get on, put my odds on Ladbroke somewhere.
It's like the island, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the island.
Yes.
EYE land. The London Eye.
Yeah.
This is the island, or Island. Yep. And how did you get off? How did you get to the island? You had to win lottery.
Yeah.
It's just hopes and dreams. Hopes and dreams. It's business, right? This world's been run as a business.
It has been run as a business. It still is been run as a business.
And the game of Monopoly is almost done because we're still playing, but we don't owe anything. It's a bit like playing cards late at night with somebody who's run out of money. And they keep writing your IOUs.
Yes, yeah.
And you know that even while they're drunk now, and they mean it, I will. Let's give it another 20 minutes. Let's give me a chance to get some back. Give me a chance to get a bit back. He said, all right then. I mean, you know you're not going to get those IOUs back. You know eventually, if you can get him in enough trouble, you're going to say, you got your car keys with you? You're going to take his car off him. And that's symbolic. Look at Greece. They've been giving away their entire infrastructure. Look at Greece. They're losing their infrastructure. We know that for sure. Ireland are trying to fight back.
Yeah.
Video on my Facebook wall about this is a legal challenge to the banks and the mortgages. I wish them well. It's not the first time I've seen this stuff. It's not the second time I've seen this stuff. It's not the third time I've seen this stuff. I've yet to see a victory in a way that it is a victory.
We've no infrastructure left, though, have we? That's all been sold off to Chinese and whoever can afford it, the highest bidder. It's just...
We're going to become the slaves, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're going to become the slaves for the East. They've done their shift for us.
Yeah.
And now it's their turn.
It's their turn,
Now it's their turn to get a little taste of success. But it's ours to take the hit, as it were.
Yeah.
We aren't actually at the bottom of this cycle yet. It's not you and I that's going to experience the bottom of this cycle at all.
No.
We're not going to experience it. The next generation but one is going to experience it.
Well, it all went west, didn't it? We ended up going west to America, the Klondike, the digging for gold, and now that's gone. We're going the other way now.
Yeah, but in the late 1500s, who was the powerhouse of the world?
Yeah.
Who was it?
It was us.
It was China.
Oh, was it China?
Yeah. We are the parenters.
Yeah.
That's all we are. The illusion of home ownership is now been removed. Not for all. It's awful to have to reveal that this shakedown system is like the 2 penny falls at the seaside, and the next 2 pennies to fall is the dinosaurs. The people who won't change. The people who say, I don't want to. You have stolen this world off us. Who said it was yours? What evidence do you have that it was ever yours? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying the way that we speak makes us sound right and delusional. When we say to people, they've stolen it off us, you go find a time in history when we actually owned it. You go find a time in history.
I wrote down, when we were talking earlier I wrote down the word gate. And if you go look on a map of where you live, and you look at the names of the streets,
all gated.
How many places is called named after a gate, and that's the gate that you had to go through. And it was guarded. And you were only allowed in if you paid some money to go in, and that's like because you were going into trade.
All bridges were tolled.
Yeah.
It's only less than 200 years ago that they're told, because there was so much problem maintaining the bridges.
Yeah.
Because they kept jacking up the prices. So it made trade difficult.
Yeah.
So they were actually saying, well, we'll build our own.
Yeah.
Well, and then having a force to defend eventually they gave up.
Yeah.
It became a farce. As trade became more and more popular, it became a farce, and bridges became free to cross. But wasn't always the case.
Wasn't free, though, was it? They found other ways of taking the money off you.
Well, they tried to charge us for water. But they gave up on that one as well once they... But you see how things have changed over the years. And just getting back to finishing my final point, probably the longest point I've ever made. This is a business. This world is a business.
It is.
And I know it's not fair in the way that we'd like it to be. The only time in my lifetime that we have actually scared the government into immediate submission, immediate withdrawal, get rid of the person who introduced it, and say, right, okay, we'll put it back to normal. Don't worry, everybody. You're right, she was wrong, she said the wrong thing, we're putting it back to how it was before.
Yeah.
No, the only time we scared the life out of the government is when they tried to implement a blanket change.
Yes.
When they tried to implement the poll tax on every person here in England.
Person, yeah.
Well, it wasn't just working, it was actually anybody who wasn't at school.
Yeah, and it was to replace the rates, wasn't it?
It was to replace the rates.
There may be some people listening that can't remember. It was the rateable value of your house.
Fancy names for house tax.
Yes.
That's all they are. Fancy names for house tax, or at least different names for house tax. Used to have a window tax.
Yeah.
Now we've got a bedroom tax.
Yeah.
It's not different.
No, here in Ripon they had a door tax.
Did you?
And when you come to Ripon, you'll find we've got a lot of alleyways.
Yep.
And the doorways are down the alleyway, and that's how they got out of the door tax, because they were taxed.
It was a door onto the market.
It was the door onto the marketplace.
Was, yeah.
If you had a door onto the marketplace, you were taxed, and it was
and
5p a year or something.
Well, here, although I'm not sure that we're going to get this far, but here, if you want to avoid the bedroom tax and you own your own home, or at least you whatever, just
knock a
wall down. Just knock a wall down and make it into a big ensuite room. It's not going to come to that, because we have moved on a little bit in the way that the bedroom tax has got more reasons for being, hasn't it? Because what we're showing here is that when they tried to impose a change of such enormity on the entire country said, we're not having that.
No.
And at the point of and they said, no, you're right, it's Margaret Thatcher's fault. We'll get rid of her for you, and we'll put somebody else in who's nowhere near as threatening. You know, John Major.
Yeah.
And
he's made he's made an announcement today, hasn't he?
I don't know.
Yeah, he has, about the levy on the energy. We should be taxing the profits, not. They shouldn't be putting. Every time they put the prices up, the energy companies, we should put a windfall tax on their profits. That's his answer to it.
Edwina Currie. I've just got this the spitting images of the late 80s, early 90s. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do, yeah.
They were, I mean, the satire.
Yeah.
Bring back spitting image.
Yeah.
Bring back spitting image. The satire that they got away with was fantastic. Bring back that satire. Because
Norman Tebbit in his tank.
It was just John Major and Norma sat at the table, both looking grey, chasing peas around, eating them one at a time.
Yeah.
And Edwina, I mean, I just can't picture him and Edwina Currie, yet they both admitted that they had an affair.
They had a fling, yeah.
So I think we've got to go with, like, were they trying to raise John Major's profile, or did it really happen? We don't know. We don't know. But it was fun at the time.
Yeah.
You just wouldn't. You just no.
No.
She started the salmonella thing about the chicken's eggs, didn't
she? She did, yeah. That was her downfall.
Business.
Well, that fits in with business, doesn't it? Because
this world's a trade.
It is.
Right, this world's a trade, and if you don't find something of value, you're going to find yourself obsolete. All right, and as this system starts to max all the credit cards and lose the trust of the money markets, and the interest rates start going up.
Yeah.
All right, there's not enough money in the economy now to make it go round successfully, but going round it still is. As these interest rates go up, as mortgage rates go up, as jobs are lost to technology, as workfare steps in and replaces jobs with unemployed people on job seekers, if you know what I mean. That's what's happening with workfare.
Yeah.
As the majority of the big companies move their staff to part-time, the economy is not going to improve in a way that's going to be beneficial to anybody except those that control the economy. So if you're looking for, it'll be all right in the end. It can't stay like this forever. It'll improve. The only way that it'll improve for you is if you're prepared to sign to get yourself into further debt.
Yeah.
Look back in your life. That's the only time your life has improved. When you sign to get into further debt. And if enough of us sign to get into further debt, then the economy has an injection.
Yes.
Right? Called debt.
Yeah.
All right? In today's modern marriages are till debt us do part. Have a look around. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's debt that's breaking up marriages. The injection is just a morphine injection, prolonging the inevitable.
Yeah.
Is it going to collapse in my lifetime? I can't imagine it's not going to. Will it be next week? No, I don't think so. Will it be next year? Well, it won't be better. And even if they inject billions into the economy, it still will hurt at the far end when they start taking it back out again.
Yeah.
So we need to understand that whatever debt system we're in will always conclude in the same result. The people involved in it will lose everything.
Yep.
It's all going back in the box.
Back in the box, yeah.
That's why I played back in the box. It doesn't matter how ruthless you think you are, unless you sat with the vultures at the top, unless you're playing the legal eagle system, unless you are the kingfisher, the fisher of men, okay, unless you sat on the moon fishing this dream, all right, which is how it works.
It is, yeah.
Then good luck, because you're going to have to you're going to have to sell your soul to some point to actually win this game.
Yeah,
you're going to have to be sold out, SOULED out, sold out.
Business is just another word for they just changed the name of it, don't they? It was trade. We called them the trade winds, didn't we? The boats that took us, and we filled that boat up and sailed it with things of value and sailed it away so that we could trade with other countries. Mainly, it was salt, it was spices, it was all these kinds of things, and I think we've got to go back to that. I was working for an elderly couple today And
we can't go back.
Lovely people.
We've got to trade with ourselves.
Yeah, I don't mean that. I mean, we've got to go back to the word trade. That's what I'm meaning. That's what we'll go back to. And you cannot sit on your arse at home and blame everything else. You've got to get up off your head and think, what can I do to trade? That's what I did when I fell out with bosses and I'd had enough, and I thought, what could I do? And I went away and I retrained, and I spent money to retrain myself, and then I set up my own business, and it's been hard. It still is hard. I still have debts. I always will have debts. I don't think I'll ever get out of them because of that's the way it is. There are things we could do, but it doesn't matter that. What I'm saying is the elderly couple I'm working for today, he were asking me if I knew somebody that could come and do his garden a little bit. He wants one or two things doing in the garden, and he said, I've rung people. I says, I don't really know anybody reliable enough to come and do that. I said, I can't do that. I don't know one plant from another, from a weed, really. It ain't my field of excellence. But there was nobody I could recommend. And he said, every time I ring somebody up, they say they'll come and have a look, and they never come out. They never come to do it. There he is wanting to part with his money to help him do his garden, and there's nobody there. So there are opportunities out there. It's just trying to find them, and somebody's just got to drop onto that and try and find it. That's what trade is, isn't it?
It is, but let's just put a little home truth in there, shall we? The people at the bottom who are happy to do nothing, right? They're just lazy.
Yes, we are.
They don't care.
I've put my hand up. We are lazy. I'm lazy.
You want to live in a world that deals in honesty.
Yes,
Now listen.
We all want that.
Right, but it's...
Well, not all of us.
It's such a rare commodity, right? It's such a rare commodity. Honesty and truth. Or at least you tell it as you see it. And you're prepared to put your hand up and apologise if you're wrong. But if you're prepared to be honest and tell the truth, then you're a very rare individual. Because honesty, even if you had all the honesty in the world, it won't buy you a loaf of bread.
No.
Do you see what I mean?
I do, yeah.
This virtue is a wonderful thing.
It is.
But you can't exchange it for a loaf of bread in the way that you can exchange deception. You see?
Yeah.
So, if you're going to be an honest man, which, as I say, is a very rare commodity, the only way anyone's going to trade with you is to recognise that honesty.
Yeah.
That's not easy, is it? That means you have to trust somebody, don't you? And isn't the art of deception the magician's tool?
It is.
Yeah, aren't we all trying to, we say it's a kind of magic. Kinder. It's like a kind of magic where we don't mean to hurt you. And I didn't think it would work out that way, but if I hadn't done it, somebody else would have done. It's just business. It's nothing personal. It could have been you or anybody. So please don't think badly of me. It's just that you lost and I won. We've got to that world, haven't we?
Yeah.
And we've got to that world. Because an honest man, you can't con an honest man. And that, I think, is possibly one of the best lines I've ever read written by another. You cannot con an honest man. Which is why we can't find many honest men.
Honest men, yeah.
Because you can con the bloody rest. You can con the rest. If they see a fast buck, a quick turnaround, a profit to be made, however it's to be made.
Yeah. And I've been conned. I think all of us can say.
But you take it, don't you?
Been conned, yeah.
You say, that sounds like a good deal. I better get in quick before somebody else goes. I better get myself in.
Yeah, it does happen. And you've got to admit to yourself, or be honest with yourself first. We've always said this. Be honest with yourself first.
That's why we say, because if you're lying to yourself, you lost.
You're totally gone.
You're never going to win this. The thing about liars is they can never remember what they've said. I mean, I have a mirror above my fireplace, and for some queer reason, I don't know what it is, I prefer to stand rather than sit down. I will sit down because I know it makes people uncomfortable, but I actually prefer to stand up. I don't know why. There'll probably be a name for this illness and probably a tablet to go with it. But anyway, I have spent days, not consecutively, by the way, but adding up the days, or the hours into days, I've looked in that mirror, and I never knew what value it had. And I can't describe it in words, but I do know that if I ever do get to write a little bit of the book that I think I do have in me, the first chapter will be called Honesty. It'll have to be the first chapter. There's no doubt about that. We haven't printed many news stories off because the news is just a cycle of what we always get.
Yeah.
Of course, the power prices are going up just before Christmas. Before winter.
Yeah.
They always do.
It's a norm now.
Of course, you have the story that the power might go off. Power cuts is something you prepare for. Please prepare for power cuts, everyone.
Yeah,
the infrastructure is so stretched, which is why we're putting the prices up. If we can't see these little tricks now, we're never going to see them. We thought that people would understand where we were coming from, and we would be able to attract like-minded people, and we thought we actually might collect a good number and perhaps be able to affect change at our little local level, didn't we? And I think we've completely forgotten that we don't sound like anybody else we know now. And one parting shot is, as you and I keep moving along this path, we've got less and less people around us.
Yeah.
And we were hoping for more. We were hoping for more. It's not working out like I thought it would.
No, it definitely isn't. No,
it's not working out like I thought it would.
No, we've often asked ourselves, what is it that's not attractive? What is it that?
But we're not asking for anything. We don't ask for anything.
Exactly. That's the thing we don't get. We don't ask for donations. We don't ask for no books to sell, no DVDs to sell. There's none.
We just say come around for a cup of coffee.
Or get in touch with us,
and nobody does. Nobody does.
No. We have a few commenters on YouTube, don't we?
Well, hardly.
But there's only one or two, maybe.
There's a guy called Stephen Boyd. Actually, I must apologise to Stephen Boyd. He has sent me some artist sketches, and I gave him a brand new email account. And he sent the artist sketches to that brand new email account.
And you haven't looked at it?
I've only just recently. So, Stephen, I'll be in touch tomorrow. Right, Sonia Poulton. We've got Sonia Poulton on next Tuesday as our guest. Hopefully, the People's Voice. So, we'll get ourselves ready. I am going to support the People's Voice because I can't find a reason not to.
No.
Okay,
there'll be no reason not to.
I'm sure they'll make mistakes. I'm sure that the broadcasters will be given license to say what they want, and it'll be interpreted wrongly by
whoever.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
I suspect that everybody will say, "Oh, the money's in it now." Right? Those are people who don't have any and have never even run. They've never even run a bath.
No.
Right? They don't know how to set up a business.
No.
Right? And if you don't know anything about business, please don't assume you do by making flippant, pointless, absolutely embarrass yourself comments, because that's what people do.
Yeah.
Oh, I see they've gone down the money system now. Oh, that's it now. They've so. You stupid so-and-sos. They got electric bill. They got business rates, right? They got printer. They got printer ink.
Rent the
they
room.
Got maintenance. They got rent to pay.
Telephone.
They've got to eat. They've got to go and get something to eat.
It's internet bill.
I mean, good God, they're going to provide the bandwidth. You know, even someone like me would say, even the People's Voice, the little bit that I know about the setup that they've got and the people they've got, they will not be given their time for free.
No.
Nobody can do this for free.
They cannot do it.
They will have to be given something for their time. Believe me, it'll be a lot less than they could probably get in the commercial world. When they're sat in that office doing the job that you just might want to criticise them for, don't bring that to me. Don't bring me, you little petty, jealous, envious, pointless. Don't do it, because I will crush you. I will absolutely crush you. Live and let live.
Yeah.
The People's Voice has got every right to do whatever they want.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I think an alternative news outlet of a professional standard set up by business people and projecting what is a professional service. If you don't think that's a good idea, you ain't even thinking. You ain't even got to the point of what we're going to do then, really. Or shall we just tour YouTube and Facebook and wreck everybody's day? Shall we just... You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Let's go on the internet and say, okay, this person says this. I'll just go on Google. I'll find the alternative that someone said different and say, ha-ha, you're wrong. You nasty little piece of work.
And those people...
Keep away from me.
Yeah,
keep away from me, because I'll crush you.
The other way to do it would be to do something as good as what they're doing then, if not better.
They can't.
But they can't, no.
They have to criticise others because they cannot make for
all
themselves.
All they can do, yeah.
All they can do is try and bring somebody down because they will not stand up.
Yeah.
They will not stand up and be counted.
No,
they will criticise other shows while making nothing.
Nothing.
They are the backstreet hecklers.
Yeah.
They're the ones that have bought the cheap seats.
Yeah.
In fact, they didn't pay. They probably snuck in when the show had started.
The takers, not the makers.
And they pretend they're on this side. And do you know what? They're on nobody's side because they are still the enemy.
Yeah, they're part of the problem.
The people at the bottom are, in some ways, a bigger problem than those above us. Because those below, the non-productive bitching give me stuff, they're going to be the people that vote to take away the wealth from those above them.
Yeah.
Give me stuff because I've imagined a world where you've stolen off me. You've only got that money because it should be mine. That's how socialism works. You know it is. They vote to take it off those that's got it because they will not have that.
I used to think
this
that
is how
way.
It works.
I used to think that way.
Also coming up before Christmas, I'm hoping to have Alan Watt.
Yes,
Alan Watt. I'm now on email terms. I know it's not much, but it's a start. I've read his book. We've had a confirmation back saying that yes, he'll arrange a date before Christmas.
Lovely.
So we don't usually have guests.
No, it'd be nice to have a chat with him.
Guests of those calibre.
Yeah.
How could we not say thank you very much?
Yeah, exactly. That I was just going to say.
Sonia Bolton won't be charging for her appearance.
No. Alan Watt won't. No.
And we don't charge for our time.
We don't. No. There's no charge for this.
Tuesday, the 22nd of October 2013, my Facebook, your Facebook. Everything we've talked about is on my Facebook page. The links are below this YouTube. It has been a pleasure.
It certainly has.
And always is.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits. The rebels. The troublemakers. The round pegs in the square holes. Ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them, but the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
If you think our show's been negative this evening, it maybe has. We'll look back and we'll say it has been a little bit negative. But if you want me to blow bubbles, if you want me to blow bubbles all day and stroke your ego, you're listening to the wrong show.
You are.
Yeah. I've got to say thank you to the boys and girls on Awake Radio. If we've been piggybacked onto Shaziz, or not even, well done to Shaziz as well for the work they do. You'll also find us on Blog Talk. All the links are below. We have not a great time doing this.
No,
but it teaches us to teach ourselves, and if other people get something from it, then other people get something from it. I have one more song to play, and please don't look at this song as like it's from the X Factor. It's not from the X Factor. This song is for me possibly one of the best songs of the modern era. Good night from me.
Good night from me.
Until next week. Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.
You.